I'm here with Chris Weafer, Senior Partner with Macro Advisory Consultancy in Moscow. Chris, just first question, I'd like to ask you, what do you think has been the impact on Russian oil and gas industry and the economy of sanctions, Western sanctions?
Well, we need to split the sanctions into two parts. If we look at the 2014 sanction, the original sectoral sanctions, the effect has actually been almost universally positive. We have seen both the oil companies and the government having to look at efficiencies, becoming a lot more efficient, both in terms of, the cost of production and how the budget is managed in Russia. So if we look at the oil sector, from August 14, when sanctions were first applied, to November 16, when Russia agreed to deal with Saudi Arabia, Russia's average daily oil production went up by 1.4 million barrels of oil a day. So that tells you a lot about how they addressed it. Since last year's CATSA law in the US, that has to some extent been a game changer, because that introduced the threat of secondary sanctions and of course also increased the level of sanctions against some individuals in the energy sector, but so far has avoided actually increasing sanctions against the oil companies or against the gas companies. So there is now a concern that while Russia has adapted well to sanctions thus far, that from now on it could be a lot tougher. And part of the reaction to that we see from the government is that they are much more focused on diversification in the economy, in the budget, but also on energy. So today there's a lot more focus on developing the gas sector, pipelines of course, but also LNG, and in the future really emphasizing the growth in the gas sector as part of the diversification, rather than to continuing to push for more oil output.
Sure, very interesting. And what about the new sanctions that are in the pipeline, as it were?
Well, yes, right now we are waiting to see how tough these new sanctions from Washington will be. We're going to know within the next few months. There is the CBW, Chemical Biological, Phase 2 sanctions in late November. Senators are telling us that they will introduce the revised version of the DASCA bill, which is named the Defending America's Security Against Kremlin Actions, so that's not a good thing. And also the various threats of escalating sort of secondary sanctions. So on the back of that, of course, we're looking at what's going to happen with Nord Stream 2. We're looking at the ability of foreign companies to co-invest with Russian companies, not even in Russia, but on international projects. So I think in the next couple of months we could have another game changer with regard to the level of risk of doing business with the Russian energy sector and co-investing with Russian energy companies.
Finally, what do you think, in your personal view, is the likelihood of Nord Stream 2 being able to progress?
I think Nord Stream 2 will get built. And the reason I say that is because this is now a priority project for the Kremlin. For President Putin, it ticks two boxes. It is good economics and it is good politics. They can afford to do it on their own. They would very much like partners, of course, but the sense I get from talking to people and listening to comments is that if Western companies are not able to co-invest, Russia will build it using its own resources and then perhaps seek to bring in Western partners later when the political climate is different. But I am 100% convinced Nord Stream 2 will get built.
Chris, thank you very much.